Hello, I'm Alicia, and I'm honored to be on this panel where we have three artists from the Sculpture Society who are presenting their work as part of the Sculpture Society Singapore's 20th anniversary show titled reTHINGing Sculpture in Singapore 2021 at the Lim Hak Tai Gallery at NAFA. We are asking artists to rethink or rethink their work, where the exhibition seeks to examine critical questions such as: is there still a clear demarcation between the handmade thing and the conceptual thing? In an increasingly digitized world of social media, to what extent have sculptural objects dematerialized or rematerialized? Okay, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Would you like to introduce yourself, please? Jinming, you can start.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Chen Ning. I am interested in objects and things in my art practice.
That's great. Thank you. How about you, Yanyi?
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Chen Yanyi, and I'm an artist from China. I majored in sculpture and installation art.
And Xue Ning?
Hello, I'm Xue Ning, and then I work with a variety of mediums to do mainly three-dimensional works. Most of them are in the forms of nature.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I would like to start by asking the first question, which is: what is the reason behind your choice of 3D art over 2D? Would you like to start, Xue Ning?
So I think it's because I have experience in both 2D and 3D mediums before I joined NAFA. So my main priority of choosing is which one would give me the most improvement in my overall practice. So I chose the one that I have less confidence in, which is 3D medium.
Mhm. Thank you. How about you, Yanyi?
So actually, for me, I have never tried 3D art before I entered NAFA, and I think it was in the first year in NAFA when I first time got to know some sculpture and installation artists examples, and also we were provided with many opportunities to experiment with different materials in different workshops like sculpture workshops and printmaking workshops. And during that time, I found my interest in 3D art and want to like exploring the kind of like new materials and also the sense of space in 3D making.
That's great. Thank you. How about you, Jinming?
That's a good question because I was trained as a 2D artist. But I think somehow because my interest gravitated towards objects, it became 3D. Because objects are 3D, physical objects are. But I don't think I fully detached myself from 2D making either. I think uh, 2D art to some extent does inform how I make 3D works. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask the second question is: how is making different for you in comparison to some of the senior sculptors or artists whom you know or whom you look up to? How about you, Yanyi?
Okay. So actually, for me, I don't know if there is really a big difference between my own understanding of making and the other senior artists' work, because there are a lot of times that during the making process that I need to find inspirations from other artists' work, and I think the influence is kind of like inevitable. And but for me, making is like the process of both deconstruction and reconstruction, because um, for my work, the topics and themes are always about the little details and the observing in my daily life or through my personal experience. And to deconstruct that and to reconstruct it through the language of the materials and um, to kind of like in a more abstract expressing way. And also I think the making is not only about the results or the final product created, but it should also be about the kind of like process of transforming, and also all the elements like the time and the action, the motions of the artist involved in this process is just like as important as the final work.
Right. Yes. How about you, Xue Ning?
I think that the difference between the artists or the sculptors that I know to us is, of course, in the making process. Like we always have this expectation that the senior artists or sculptors, they would start from the very traditional way of learning, imitating the reality stuff, or having a very very accurate proportion to the work. All those is like a very basic thing that they have to do. But for us, when we are learning, it's more about trying to expose ourselves to a variety of mediums within one single period of time, as many as possible, or even the technique as well. So that I think that is the two difference between our learning.
I think making for me is very different. As in, I think for that matter, there was only a bit more emphasis on the making process in my recent years. Prior to that, it was always conceptual. So quite unlike, I think, my the senior sculptors and artists that I know. For me, the idea has to come first. Yeah. So I do find it quite challenging sometimes when people tell me to, no, Jin, you're very stuck, in your concept. So you just need to make. And then I'm like, but make what? I mean, like if I have a concept, but the concept informs my making for me. Like the idea informs my making. Maybe it's because I'm not technically trained in sculpture or like ceramics or anything like that. So maybe that's why, in a sense, sometimes the medium doesn't inform my making quite yet. Like for me, like the concept needs to come first before the making does. Yeah, but that's just for me. So I think maybe that is what makes me a bit more different or from the other artists that I know.
Do you think it is important that artists make, or is it okay for someone else to make it for the artist? Uh, would you like to start, maybe, Jinming?
Oh, that is a huge argument, I think. Not argument, I mean, it's a huge debate, I think, in the community of artists. But I think we have progressed that far already. I think it's happened since pop art, when Andy Warhol sort of reproduced his artwork. And he was saying how like the artist has progressed from like the authenticity of like the entire art making process to just being the producer of the process. Yeah. And while that can be, I think, hard to grapple with and hard to come to terms with sometimes, I do think that without the artist, the making will not happen. Yeah. So maybe to some extent, the artist's role in this entire journey is very important. Yeah. Even if let's say they are not authentically producing everything from start to end, it's just like having a movie director, you know. It's like if you don't have a director, like if all these like actors and everything, like it's orchestrated differently. Yeah. So I do think regardless of that, it is still okay for other people to be a part of the artwork making process. Yeah.
How about you, Yanyi?
Okay, so for me, actually, like as Jimmy has mentioned that this kind of like the others make for the artist have appeared a long time before, and also it's okay for me because I understand that is a kind of like a way of making and yeah, and also there are a lot of like senior artists that they have done so, but for me personally speaking, like for my own artwork, I would prefer to like still keep the kind of touch of the artist on the work, which is I think is very important part in my own work. And yeah. Yes.
I think that it is definitely okay if someone else make it for the artist. I mean, if that is like we see in our daily life, even sculptors, we need to ask contractors for help. We need to ask someone else to supply us the material. So it's already a way that someone else is helping us. But sometimes I always wonder, what if the making does not stop with the physical work, but with the mental work as well? So you ask someone else to brainstorm. So I think in that case, I personally feel that it is okay as well, as long as you own the possession. Like, I buy this idea from you, then I think that is totally fine. Because like, even if we see now, NFT is all about possessing something that is very indefinite. So of course it's okay, in my opinion.
But do you feel that the tinkering process of making is important, like while developing the work? If someone were to make the work for the artist, is there something lost in the process of further developing the work?
I think that of course, they always say how you need to have that sense of touch when you are doing the work to, feel that it is real. You feel engaged to your work. You have a certain emotion that is developed to your work. Eh, Sometimes I think that, all these connections can be built on in the later part as well, even if the work is not done by you. As long as you process it, afterwards you can also build that connection. So I don't think that that is much of importance in the current situation. Yeah.
How do you build that connection though?
Then it's like asking, how do you build a connection with your pet? So over time, of course, you'll build the connection.
How about you, Yanyi? What do you feel about this?
Actually, for example, there is one artist that I used to uh, uh, be inspired be inspired from when I was making my FIP work, which is Judy Puff, and um, in her work, she mainly makes the installation work, which she used like the free flowing materials like plastics and wax, and in the like hanging in the space in the gallery, and all of those kind of like final touch up she will do it herself, and that's actually really inspires me, because I think although it's in the like the final touch of the work, or let's say the tinkering process, but if the artist can like finish it by themselves, there is also it is also like I think it is also the part of the homemaking process of that work, and during that process is also some like I don't know, maybe the artist's own understanding of the space is adding into that work, even in that very simple process. So yes, I think it is also important while developing the work.
I think I have not fully been able to mentally articulate how I feel about this. Because I think definitely my cognitive bias tells me that I have to be part of the artwork. Like, because I'm the artist, I have to make the artwork. Like, it has to be birthed through my hands, But I think that is something that's also debatable in the art making. Maybe currently at this moment right now, it is taboo to us. But maybe that is also where the future of contemporary art is headed also. Right now, if you ask me personally, I do think tinkering is important. And I do think that having my own say and my own hands in the process is very important, because that almost imparts some of, you know, my own credits and my own merits into the artwork, almost in a sense. Yeah. But then again, maybe there is more that I don't know, and there is more that I haven't thought of in this art making process. So with regard to how do I build that connection, regardless, but yeah, so I do think that maybe as an artist, I need to connect to other people, but maybe the means of connection doesn't have to come through my own means. I think that is something that I'm also still trying to articulate as well. That there are different ways of connecting to different people, but maybe my own way is not the only way. Yeah, like there are other ways of doing so. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So, how do you choose your medium, and is there a favorite medium? And how important is the choice of medium in your given artwork? Would you like to start, Yanyi?
Okay. Um, so for me, usually when I start to make a work, I will start from the um, topics and theme of the work. So it's like basically always the topic that I want to do come out first. And then I choose the material that I think might be matched with the topic the most, or I think that this materials can kind of like present the and convey the message or in the topic the best. Then I would choose it. And for now, I still don't have a favorite so-called favorite medium to work with because I think I'm still like haven't reached that stage of really know which materials that fit me the most or which material is my favorite one. And also I try to experiment with different materials in each work and kind of like avoid to keep using the same materials in the different works. And I think it's quite fun for me to play with the different materialities. Yeah.
How about you, Shrening?
I think I agree with Yanni's point. I I look at the medium when I'm thinking of like the topic, the concept first. Then after that, I look at the medium, and then because the medium itself, it can really affect how the overall image look. So that is one thing that I consider about. Another thing is that it is based on my wish to maybe improve a certain medium at that period of time, so that I'll also use that medium as well, in a way to practice my own skills up. And then for my favorite medium, there isn't really a favorite medium. I think of the medium as a way like every medium affects my mood during the art making. For example, ceramics or ink painting is something that I like to do when I'm meditating, trying to keep myself calm. Or oil or acrylic painting when I feel like I want to celebrate something, then I'll use it. Mm, Something that I'm interested to learn in more is metal because it's something that I didn't really get a chance to use. Or and the previous time I used, I was really bad at it. So I want to have a chance and learn more about that. I think, of course, the work medium itself is very important because even medium has a meaning. Every medium has a meaning that is linked to it. So people maybe see ceramic as something that is very fragile, or maybe silicone as something that is more personal, more of like a flash thingy. So I think, yeah, medium is very important when you are choosing it.
For me, of course, I think undoubtedly medium is important. Medium informs the artwork. If I had made an artwork out of, I don't know, like wood versus metal, I think those intonations and implications are very different. The sense of permanence and the sense of where it has been has matters a lot to the art making. So I think as an artist, there has to be that trained sensitivity of using the apt and the correct medium to inform your artwork and to make your artwork. Um, well, I think for me, so like Xue Ning and Yanyi, I do not have a favorite medium. I think I surprise myself all the time when I make a new artwork that a new medium will somehow surface itself to me, and I have to learn the medium all over again. So it can be quite tricky. So like a bit like Xue Ning said, like sometimes you do artwork and then artwork is very clearly heading in the direction of that one medium that you're not good at, and you're like, crap, I have to learn it now. Yeah, so that can be quite difficult. It can be quite tricky, but I think that is the exciting part of making, I guess. The fact that I think especially because three of us are quite multidisciplinary in that aspect, so we are always surprised by the things that we use to make our artwork, and surprised by the qualities they present to us. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you. So, in this digitized world that we are all living in now, how did it change your art world or your relationship towards it? And what do you think about the audience? How's the relationship between you and the digital world? Would you like to start, Jinmei?
Um, I think that is the direction that the world is heading to right now, and I think it's very inevitable. Um, I think there's always a lot of these arguments about how in the past, like, oh, in the past, there was no like computers, and now you kids have it so easy with all these computers. But I think, like it or not, that is where we are progressing to, and we have to accept that, you know. And I think what is amazing to me about technology is that I think the world as a whole brain is becoming a very big universal one. It's like let's say something a very big thing happens in a different country, like, and then the news travels to me within like 1 hour or less, like in a split second, you know. Um, and so because of that, I think knowledge is very combined right now, and because of that, artists are a lot more informed, and artists are have a lot more to work with, and also because the whole world is connected through the digital age. For people to access artworks, it has also become a lot easier. And let's say if I want to find an artwork online, like it's a lot easier for me to go and access the artwork to find out more information about the artwork versus if I had to travel there physically to see the artwork, like without the digital age. So I think in my own making that matters a lot. The fact that I can now do online publications, the fact that I can now, post about my work online, like that matters a lot to me because it gets the reach out. And because of that is my artwork has become a lot more accessible. And as an artist, if I want the world to access artworks, the digital platform is extremely important. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about you, Yanyi?
Okay, so I think it is actually both opportunities and also a challenge for all of us. One thing that I am strongly agree with Jimmy is that it brings a lot more opportunities to the art making, and also the artworks can reach more audience, and also there is like more materials that's for there for the artist to experiment with. But there are also challenges coming with this. For example, like when the artworks, the actual artworks are transformed into a like a soft copy online, and during this process of transforming, there will be something missing, I think. Um, Especially for the sculptures and installation artists. And it's kind of like a process that the work might be flattened, and the sense of the scale and the freshness of the materials, which you can only feel feel like through a first person experience, this kind of feeling will be lost, I think.
I think that when I'm thinking about digitization, the first thing I think of is the impact, which is how it has made everything more simpler. So this complexity of everything has changed because of digitization. Like it's always all about making everything simpler for the consumer by the producer. So the consumer can get like search the search function and then make their mind simpler. They don't have to think about so much, or you know compressing space and time, and then they get to converse online. Don't have to go out of the door as well. So I think, of course, if we are talking about that, the audience is definitely a consumer, because they everything becomes simpler for them. But for artists ourselves, I think we can be both the consumer if we are doing the art, and also the producer because we do the art for the audience. So when I'm thinking about that, as a consumer, everything is of course simpler. Like Jean said, we can share our works to a bigger audience and everything. But as a producer, producing the artwork with the digital tool, it has been, in my own experience, it has been very, very troublesome, and maybe because I'm very bad with the digital tool. So yeah, I don't really like being a producer.
And so, what are the advantages or disadvantages also of digital tools, which you guys also have talked about? But is there anything in specific that you would like to point out? Anything else about the advantages and disadvantages of using digital computers and so much of technology all the time, every time that we need to. What do you think, Jinming?
I do think that there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages. Advantages being, as mentioned, things are more easily accessible now. And let's say if I want to make a publication, my previous work had a lot to do with publication, and like that's easy for me to do now. You know, because of the digital world, I am able to make something that is almost of higher quality in that extent. But I think as an artist, okay, there's this saying that I read some time ago, is that every time you invent something, you automatically invent the accident of that thing. So, so it's like in the digital world, because there's a digital world, naturally, even though it is good, there's a lot of things that can backfire. So let's say as an artist, I can face discouragement, or I can face a negative comments, or people can like hijack my artwork and use it for their own benefit. Yeah. Or in a sense, use my artwork and not credit me. So those are also the dangers, I think, for me in creating my art. Yeah, so as good as they can be, and as much as they have helped me in my making, I think there's also a lot of setbacks that we have to almost worry ourselves with when we produce work with digital tools. Yeah.
How about you, Yanyi?
Okay. Um, so I think for the advantages, as I mentioned in the previously, um, I think the digital tools as a medium to work with, comparatively, it might be easier to work with. Because like for example, it might be easier to fix or to make changes to the work that you are making. Well, this is kind of like very hard to achieve in when you're dealing with the actual materials. But through the digital tools, you can like cancel the changes you have applied to the work at any time. So at this point of view, I think it's maybe easier for the artist to do with the final results. But also, like I also said it just now, I think the works are kind of like flattened, and for the work there is a transformation from the three-dimensional actual setup into a like more like a two-dimensional approach, because when the audience are viewing the work, they are viewing through maybe their smartphones screen or the computer screen. So it's like a very two-dimensional like approach for me. And also when the works are uploaded to the social media like Instagram and Facebook, um, where actually people won't spend so much time on each photo, and so means like there are less time spent in the photo in the artworks, and which might cause the situation that the visual impact at the first sight of the work might become more important than the actual experience gained through like being inside the work, being in the gallery in person. Yeah, so I think that's something quite challenging.
I agree with that. Great. Okay. So the next question I would like to ask is, what is traditional, like what is tradition and what is traditional in your perspective for art? And does it have a place in your art? Sorry.
I think that tradition or traditional art, something that has been done consistently and then passed on from generations to generations. So it can be like just now the first questions where I say, something that is traditional is learning about sketching, proportion, all the basics, fundamentals. So those can be the traditional because it's done for generations. We learn that the spirit can also be traditional. We always say about the Nanyang spirit. That is something that is traditional. the spirit of excellence, patience, or being more open-mindedness. That is something that is very traditional to an artist. We need to pass that on every time. In my point of view, it is permanently. It'll always be there, constantly be there. It will evolve, but then it will not disappear. So no tradition will disappear. Even if we say the teaching now has changed, but it did not fully disappear. In a way, it has just upgraded or evolved, added new stuff. So yeah, tradition will not change.
How about you, Yanyi?
Mm, for me, yes, it does have a place in my art because I always took the ancient traditional Chinese art as the topic and inspirations to my artwork when, especially during the first and second year in NAFA, when I really didn't know what is my interest in art, and which direction should I choose, should I go with. And so at that time I was always like referring back to the very traditional topics. And now, although the inspirations, the interest have shifted, but I still love to like find inspirations from the traditional art. For example, the I take inspirations from the beautiful shapes and lines of the Buddhist sculptures and murals, and kind of like learn from that. But I think apart from the forms and techniques, what is also important is the kind of like artist interest and their perspectives reflected through their artwork. Whether it is about humanism, or it is about maybe like self-expression, or reflection to the social reality, or like about protesting. This kind of cares and interest shown through their works also affect me a lot, I think. And because as Xue Ning mentioned just now, and art has such a long history, and the same topic might have been has been approached and explored in so many different forms and by so many different artists. And um, I kind of like regard my works as just another layer on that. But I think the kind of like perspectives and how the senior artists are viewing this world, how they reflect to their own surroundings, is are really inspiring and affected me and my works. Yeah.
I I think to some extent I have some trouble answering this question. I think internally, because I find it very difficult to truly pinpoint what tradition is. I think we throw the word traditional around quite often, but I think tradition, while important, I think does stem from almost an original standpoint. Yeah, but I think the reason why tradition has been able to live for so long, or tradition has been live for so long, is because we always adapt to tradition. We almost keep it alive in that aspect. Um, and I think there has been a lot of, I think at least in my making, there has been a lot of argument and debate about me staying true to my roots. And that is important as an artist. It's important for me to know almost my roots, to know my own history, and to know, and because all these things inform who I am as a person. It informs my identity as a person, and that translates to my making. Yeah, it's like how I think. So I think because there are so many kinds of traditions, knowing which one to draw from, um, which one to draw from matters to me as a person. It matters to me in my making. Yeah. So I think So I think in my own practice or current practice, there is very clear cut that we can still see some traditions being passed on, whatever those traditions may be. And for me as artist, it matters. Yeah, it matters, and it has a place in my heart. Yeah, even if how that might look may have changed. Yeah, so I think that is the important key here. That it may have come from traditional roots, but the way in which it is approached may have changed quite a bit. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. And my last question would be, since our event is known as reTHINGing, what does reTHINGing mean to you, and how have you used it in your art in your specific project? Would you like to start, Xue Ning?
Rethinking to me is like looking at the object, re-looking at the object again, finding new meanings, or looking at reflecting whether those meanings are really the only meanings that is available. So in my work for this project, I think that um, I tried to explore the different meanings of the mouse, computer mouse, or animal mouse. In a way, there is a way of reading to explore how the object has evolved over time. Um, yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Yanyi?
Yeah, I think my own understanding of rethinking is quite similar to Xue Ning, which is also about like to have a new conversation and new a different way to rediscover the maybe the daily objects in our life. For example, like in my own work for SSS projects this time, it's about to rediscover the place that I am from and to form a new conversation with it. And also, I think it is like a process of, as I mentioned in the previous question, it's again about deconstruction and reconstruction. To I don't know, maybe like deconstruct the very details of our very daily surroundings, very daily experience, and then to reconstruct it in a way that maybe it's very abstract, but it's another kind of like a very personal expression. Yeah.
So I think with reference to my work, rethinking to me, of course, I would imagine it to be reimagining the possibilities of the 3D making. And so for my work, I have tried to push that. Because what I am presenting is quite literally a cavity and a void. So the key feature of my work is that there is no thing. So that the thing itself has passed through space and time, and it has left behind almost this void. So what my artwork does is that I vacuum form the form of the artwork, but the vacuum form itself is artwork and not the thing. So it is a space, quite literally an empty space, but a now empty space that an object has once inhabited. So I think for me, I feel like I have tried to reimagine reimagine what maybe a 3D can be. I have tried to, in a sense, that maybe emptiness can also be a 3D form. Yeah. So for me, I guess that is quite literally rethinking. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And Training, can I ask you? You talk about like rethinking how you can use the mouse, and you considered like what other kind of uses you can have. Can you maybe elaborate a little on that? How you rethought your process or of making it in a way?
I think because that work is mainly to talk about this blurring boundary between the digital world and the physical world. So when we talk about these differences in the digital world and the physical world, of course we're talking about how there's this evolution to all the technologies. And then in my own personal experience with the digital world, I have been addicted to gaming for a period of time. So at that period, the mouse itself is a very important part of the whole process because we play games with the mouse and all. So I think And that part, I just thought that, you know, mouse is a function that is very important to me, but the mouse, the word of the mouse itself can be like a parasite or sort to the others. So there are people that are afraid of mouse, disgusted by mouse. So I think that's the difference between, you know, the physical world and the digital world. And then I try to blur these boundaries and merging them, the meanings together.
I want to ask you, because I recently just saw your artwork on Instagram and how you've been taking imprints of things around your hometown, is it? Your hometown. Yeah. Actually, I'm very curious as how you're gonna put it all together. Like, how is the assembly gonna be?
Oh, okay. You mean the final setup, right? Okay. So, there is a quite long process considering how should I like put all of these little pieces together. And at first I was considering to like hang them up in the acrylic box and making the like floating in the air, something like that. But later I realized that this kind of setup might not be able to convey the message that I try to talk about in my main topic the best way. So I changed it, and now it's like to attach the different silicone pieces onto acrylic board and making it apply the kind of like visual effect, which when you look at a far distance, you might regard it as some kind of map actually, because I collected all the like the patterns of the street or the walls and all of that, and sometimes it will gain very interesting like little pieces from the materials from the original site, and those little materials, it creates a sense of like the street on the maps or like the rivers on the maps. It's just like very natural flow like given by the material itself, and it's really interesting to see that. So I just like to put them together to form the map. But when you get closer, you can maybe you will realize that, oh no, it's not a map, but it's just like some small details collected from the streets. And I think this kind of like contrast maybe it's quite interesting for me. Yeah, so basically that's how roughly how the final setup will be.
I see. Actually, when you talk about how your imprints will collect a little bit of the object, also the dust of the street, reminds me of my work, because one of my objects was a piece of bone actually from my dead dog. Yeah, so I took a small bit of bone from her urn and I vacuum formed it, and there's a little bit of bone dust on the vacuum form. So it's very scary because if I made a mistake, I cannot throw the mistake away because then it is forever ingrained into that one shape. So I know what it's like to keep the everything intact. Yeah.